Part 2. It was a clear morning. The fog had burned off and the sky was blue. Campers would be having their lessons today, flying Pegasi and practicing archery and scaling lava wall. Meanwhile, we would be heading underground. Juniper and Grover stood apart from the group. Juniper had been crying again. She was trying to keep it together for Grover's sake. She kept fussing with his clothes, straightening his rasta cap and brushing goat fur off his shirt. Since we had no idea what we would encounter, he was dressed as a human, with a cap to hide his horns, and jeans and fake feet, and sneakers to hide his goat legs. Chiron, Quintus, and Mrs. O'Leary stood with the other campers who'd come to visit to wish us well, but there was too much activity for it to feel like a happy send-off. A couple of tents had been set up by the rocks for guard duty. Beckendorf and his siblings were working on a line of defense spikes and trenches. Chiron had decided we needed to guard the labyrinth exit at all times, just in case. Annabeth was doing one last check on her supply pack. When Tyson and I came over, she frowned. "Percy, you look terrible." "He killed the water fountain last night," Tyson confided. "What?" she asked. Before I could explain, Chiron trotted over. "Well, it appears you are ready." We tried to sound upbeat, but I could tell he tried to sound upbeat, but I could tell he was anxious. I didn't want to freak him out anymore, but I thought about last night's dream, and before I could change my mind, I said, "Hey, Chiron, can I ask you a favor while I'm gone?" "Of course, my boy." "Be right back, guys." I nodded toward the woods. Chiron raised an eyebrow, but he followed me out of earshot. "Last night," I said, "I dreamed about Luke and Kronos." I told him the details. The news seemed to weigh on his shoulders. "I feared this," Chiron said. "Against my father, Kronos, we would stand no chance in a fight." Chiron rarely called Kronos his father. I mean, we all knew it was true. Everybody in the Greek world, god, monster, or titan, was related to one another somehow. But it wasn't exactly something Chiron liked to brag about. "Oh, my dad is the all-powerful evil titan lord who wants to destroy the Western civilization. I want to be just like him when I grow up." "Do you know what he meant about a bargain?" I asked. "I am not sure, but I fear they seek to make a deal with Daedalus. If the old inventor is truly alive, if he has not been driven insane by millennia in the labyrinth, well, Kronos can find ways to twist anyone to his will." "Not anyone," I promised. Chiron managed to smile. "No, perhaps not anyone. But, Percy, you must be aware. I have worried for some time that Kronos may be looking for Daedalus for different reasons, not just passage through the maze." "What else would he want?" "Something Annabeth and I were discussing. Do you remember what you told me about your first trip to the Princess Andromeda? The first time you saw the golden coffin?" I nodded. Luke was talking about rising Kronos, little pieces of him appearing in the coffin every time someone new joined his cause. "And what did Luke say they would do when Kronos had risen completely?" Chill went down my spine. "He said they would make Kronos a new body, worthy of the forges of Hephaestus." "Indeed," Chiron said. "Daedalus was the world's greatest inventor. He created the labyrinth, but much more. Automatons, thinking machines. What if Kronos wishes Daedalus to make him a new form?" That was the real pleasant thought. "We've got to get Daedalus first," I said, and convince him not to. Chiron stared off into the trees. One other thing I do not understand. This talk of a last soul joining their cause. That does not bode well. I kept my mouth shut, but I felt guilty. I'd made the decision not to tell Chiron about Nico being the son of Hades. The mention of souls, though, what if Kronos knew about Nico? What if he managed to turn him evil? It was almost enough to make me want to tell Chiron, but I didn't. For one thing, I wasn't sure Chiron could do anything about it. I had to find Nico myself. I had to explain things to him, make him listen. I don't know, I said at last, but something Juniper said, maybe you should hear. I told him how the tree nymph had seen Quintus poking around the rocks. Chiron's jaw tightened. That does not surprise me. It doesn't, sir? You mean you knew? Percy, when Quintus showed up at camp offering his services, well, I would have to be a fool not to be suspicious. Then why did you let him in? Because sometimes it is better to have someone you mistrust close to you, so that you can keep an eye on him. He may be just what you say, a half-blood in search of a home. Certainly, he has done nothing openly that would make me question his loyalty, but believe me, I will keep an eye. Annabeth trudged over, probably curious why we were taking so long. Percy, you ready? I nodded. My hand slipped into my pocket where I kept the ice whistle Quintus had given me. I looked over and saw Quintus watching me carefully. He raised his hand in farewell. Our spies report success, Luke had said. The same day we decided to send a quest, Luke had known about it. Take care, Chiron told us, and good hunting. You too, I said. We walked over to the rocks where Tyson and Grover were waiting. I stared at the crack between the boulders, the entrance that was about to swallow us. Well, Grover said nervously. Goodbye, sunshine. Hello, rocks, Tyson agreed. And together, the four of us descended into darkness.